Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Fallis, and I'm the founder and tasting panel lead of Planet Grape Wine Review. I'm very excited to launch this series called Lady Somm with four advanced level sommeliers with the Court of Master Sommeliers, for very accomplished lady somms, including Laurie Sutton, who is the wine director of the California Club in Los Angeles. She was also the wine director at Shutters on the Beach in Los Angeles, as well as Malibu Beach Inn, where Laurie is kind of like me. She's a test junkie. She's, in addition to being a level 3 sommelier with CMS, she's also a WSET level 4 diploma. She's also a French wine scholar and a Spanish wine scholar. So lots of exams under her belt. We're also here with Angie An today. She's the founder of Angie Somm. She's the only Chinese English bilingual advanced sommelier or level 3 sommelier with CMS. She is also from Taipei, Taiwan, originally moved to California at 21 years of age, and is now worked at Alexander's and other notable restaurants, and is now the founder of Angie Somm, which is consulting as well as a luxury wine shop online. And not to mention a TikTok wine star. Yay. We're also here with Jennifer Knowles, the founder of We Somm. And it's interesting because We Somm comes from We Chef. If you've ever walked into a kitchen or worked in a restaurant, We Chef is the thing you always say to the chef, you know, just to cover anything, like, as Jen says on her website, don't throw a pan at me, to, you know, yes, chef, I've got it. And I just chuckled when I read that, because I was just writing about chefs throwing pans and how that's not allowed anymore. And it used to be so common, and not so long ago. Jienna's also worked at the Inn at Little Washington and at Rubicon in San Francisco, which was a really important, significant San Francisco restaurant with one of my most favorite sommeliers of all time, Larry Stone, an incredibly humble, knowledgeable, so smart, and hospitable sommelier, a master sommelier, who has welcomed many, many women into the wine industry. And so 5 years with Larry, you're so lucky. And then we're also here with Jienna Basaldu, who was the wine director at the Morris in San Francisco, which was not only great wines, great Burgundies, etc., but also chartreuse. So chartreuse as something so special there. What was it? A chartreuse smoothie or a chartreuse slushy? So a great restaurant. And now she's the sommelier at Angler, which is a hot new restaurant. It's not new, but it's reopened, and it's got an amazing wine list on the Embarcadero in San Francisco. And Jienna is one of a handful of Latinx women in the world, not just in the United States. The rest are in Mexico, who are level 3 women with CMS, and so that's quite an accomplishment as well. All right, so let's start. I'm going to ask Jen first. Go to speaker view here for a second. Jen,
yes,
can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a woman in the industry? Did you have any particular challenges?
I think the biggest challenge, and this definitely carried over once I started opening restaurants, was the mentality of the "you're a bitch." And that's where it gets really dicey, because you feel very often that when you're being assertive and you're speaking your mind and you're very dedicated to studying and knowledge base and hospitality, and you set boundaries and you're very upfront about what your mentality is and what you plan on achieving. And then when you stick to those guns and don't allow, a lot of rigmarole to happen, very often you're held more accountable as a woman than you are as a man. And I don't begrudge this or harp on it, but, I definitely feel like if I was a man in certain situations, I wouldn't have had any of the reaction that I had because I was a woman. And I think especially in the restaurant industry, because it is so male dominated, being a wine director and a general manager, running an entire restaurant, people look to women as caretakers. And when they're holding you accountable, it's very uncomfortable. Accountability is very uncomfortable for people. You don't usually use accountability in a positive frame. You don't walk up to say somebody and say, "Oh my God, you did such a great job. I'm holding you accountable for that." It's always, you know, you didn't fulfill that expectation. You weren't willing to fulfill that need. I need to hold you accountable for it. And it puts people in a difficult situation. I think as the sommelier, as strictly as a sommelier, I was in a male dominated restaurant everywhere I went. But I was very, very lucky, especially in San Francisco, to have unbelievable wine directors and sommeliers that I was working with. Not just Larry at Rubicon, but Pete Palmer at Farallon, one of the kindest, most lovely guys you can imagine. And he and Larry were very, very polar opposites. Pete never tested. He's, really laid back, loves to hike, loves to, be out in nature and just kind of be super cool. And Larry, especially at the time when I was working with him, he had 16 things on his plate. He was trying to find a winery. He was making wine. He was working at Nibom Coppola. He was, doing the restaurant. He was consulting on different things. And he was always moving. The frenetic energy of that man. I mean, I think I was, 27 at the time. He made me seem like I was flat on my feet. And I was not only the sommelier on the floor, I was also taking a station. So he'd be running circles around me. But both of them were unbelievable in terms of really their dedication to anyone succeeding. It wasn't because I was a woman. It wasn't because somebody else was a man. It was because we cared greatly about what we did. We were dedicated to our craft. We cared mightily about our guests. And more importantly, we were very, very passionate about taking care of each other. We wanted to ensure that we were all succeeding. And I think I came on a little generational upswing because the internet had really just started taking off when I started studying wine. So before that, it was kind of like if somebody bought a book, they didn't want to share it with you because they just paid $75 for, the new wine atlas and you needed to go buy it yourself. And with the internet, the sharing capability became so unbelievable that a lot of that old guard protectiveness fell off. But I do feel like there was that mentality of the boys club type of situation where you did have to be a certain way and a certain mentality to be part of it. I was lucky that I came from the background of working in kitchens and understood a lot of that mentality. So I'm a brawny lady. So I swear like a union worker and I kind of get along with all of that situation. I did feel like I had to change my personality sometimes. And I certainly had to put myself in a mind frame of be ready for somebody not to want to speak to you. Be ready for somebody to ask for the wine director, even when you're the wine director. I was the first female wine director at the Inn of Little Washington since 1978. And it was difficult at first, but not with the regular guests. The regular guests loved me. They thought that I was just peaches and cream, especially the locals, because I'm just a much more laid back, I just want people to have fun. I want them to enjoy themselves. And if you want me to be fancy, I'll put on my fancy pants, but I don't wear them regularly. So they really liked that openness, and they liked that I went in and revamped the entire wine program, because that was the second Grand Award program I'd worked with. At Rubicon, Larry had built about 1,600 selections. I had about 2,600 at the Inn. I revamped the entirety of the program, both the beverage program, so the entire beverage program, redid the entirety of the cellar, redesigned it, had stuff built. It was in a little bit of a chaos. So once I came in, I took a wine list that had been focused a little bit more in a masculine way and started asking people who were coming in, what do you want? And especially the people who came in often, what do you want to see on the list? For some reason, the wine director before me refused to ever bring in Zinfandel for any reason. And so one day a wine rep had a bottle of Height Zinfandel with him. I was like, oh, I haven't had that vintage yet. I'll try it. And he said, well, you can't put that on the list. I said, I can put anything on the list. If somebody
So,
wants Zinfandel, that's what they get. So one of the things I instituted with my cellar master, John Toigo, was if we get a request for the same grape or the same label 3 times in a row, then we will start putting on those varieties. So that's what happened. I put on, 6 Zinfandels. My first purchase order was $25,000 worth of California Pinot Noir and Champagne. There are 18 pages of Burgundy, but 3 Oregon Pinot Noirs, maybe 10 California Pinot Noirs, and in a Grand Award wine list that big, the variety was really important. So that caretaking side of me, people really saw, and they
right.
appreciated it, and they loved it. I think one of the other great things about being a woman on the floor is people are more emotive towards you. They have emotions that they wouldn't normally show to a guy. So I love the fact that I was told a dozen times a week that somebody loved me and that I was the best. And, just it's ego, but still, just people being really, really super happy and really intrigued and involved and wanting to discuss with you, and they feel, more comfortable. And that's how I really felt when it came to how I came across. I was
Nice.
not a staunch guy in an Armani suit. I was a female sommelier that they could talk to. I will
Nice.
say one of the things that I think anybody can agree with is that one of the most frustrating things to hear is, "Oh my gosh, you're a female sommelier? That's amazing. Oh my God, you're a female wine director." And you're like, how many times have you said that to a man before? So we always joke around about that, but I will always, smile and thank them and say, you know what, I'm very proud to be that too.
Awesome. Well, we're proud to share this time with you. That's amazing. And let's now move to Laurie Sutton. Laurie, tell us a little bit about some challenges and some benefits you faced as a woman in this industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was fortunate enough to become wine director of some very prestigious properties here in Southern California, and my latest here at the California Club is very interesting. I have challenges and benefits wrapped up in this story. Historically, the California Club was a gentlemen's only club until 1987. The members voted in to where women could become members. And for very, very interesting. And so I am now the first female wine director and sommelier of the club in its 133 years of existence.
Wow.
So at first, I applied for the job. I said, let's take a big leap here and let's take this challenge. I applied for the job, and I would see all of these other male sommeliers walking into the interviews, and I thought, oh boy, we'll see what happens here. Well, lo and behold, I landed the position, and I've had a series of challenges at first because it's so male oriented here. I think there was a lot of skepticism with what is she going to do, but now I've been 4 years into this position, and I'm getting very good feedback from the members. I've established great relationships. We have wine clubs here, and I feel that I have a part to do with this change here at the club, and I'm now very well received, and it's just an amazing experience. It's just absolutely amazing. That I'm a part of this change with. I know it's been since 1987 that things move slowly here at the club. We have a lot of a lot of women here in the background and the forefront, and I'm very honored to be in this position, in this role.
Wow. So you're a part of history in a very historic establishment. It's been there for over 100 years. Is that right?
133 years.
Yeah. And you're the first woman wine director. Yay.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And like I said, the membership has received me very well. I think at first there was skepticism, but now I think that I've become, and my approach is I want people to feel free to approach me, and I like to bring the fun, you know, of wine to the table and the guests and to their parties and events. And that is important to me, that they are having a great time and they feel at ease for whatever they need. So
Nice.
yeah.
That's amazing, Laurie. Another fantastic story, another woman who's changing the world one step at a time.
That's right.
Let's
That's
thanks.
right. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk with Angie now. Angie, tell us a little bit about maybe some challenges you faced and benefits of your gender in this industry.
Sounds great. Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. So for me, I thought it was always fun. I joke around and say I have 3 strikes against me. I'm being female, being Asian, and being young. Back in the days, I'm older now, obviously. So that part kind of falls off. But I always joke around that with being a female Asian young face when I was working in a restaurant, it was just not something our client expect to see when they ask for a wine expert, a wine director, or a sommelier. So I have seen, and it's kind of fun after a while. I have walked towards the table where I see the guys at the table are looking past me like, oh my God, please tell me someone's walking up behind her. Tell me she's just here to bring the water or whatever have you. And you know, you get a lot of like, you are the sommelier, you young lady, you're the sommelier. What do you know about wine? How old are you? Are you old enough to drink wine? That kind of stuff. As I get older and more mature,
wow.
It actually becomes more fun for me whenever I get into that situation, because to me now, I think about it, it is more about them than it is about me when you think about it. And I always have to remember that I'm there to provide them with the best experience that they can have. If that means that giving them a laugh, like, oh my God, this is someone who I don't expect to be a somm, but she's gonna talk anyways, or she's gonna make a recommendation anyways, like I'm totally fine with that. And then after a while, what I notice is if I don't get offended and I kind of just let it roll past and just keep going, it actually turns people around really quickly, and then they become curious, like, hey, so how did you get into wine? Like, what point of view do you have? And also when that kind of energy comes out and you don't match it and you just let it roll, they actually become more comfortable talking to you. At least is what I find in my experience. And I made a few lifetime friends and lifetime clients because of that. And they kind of like that feeling where they're being suggested to, not being sold to, at least in my opinion. So I find that really interesting. On the other hand, what I'm very proud of and what I strive to do, and I think that's such an advantage of being a female Asian or some kind of a minority, is I can really aim and niche at the fact that I'm not going to be this snobby, intimidating person you can go up to. So I'm going to make fun of myself. I am going to go on TikTok and do something stupid because I want you to know that, yes, I study very hard to become advanced level sommelier, but that doesn't mean you have to, and that doesn't mean wine have to be hard. That doesn't mean that if you can name all the Grand Cru of Chablis, I'm going to look at you like, you're not worthy of my time. No, let's have fun. If you like to drink just the sweet Moscato, let's sell you that. So to me, I really embrace being a female and the fact that they're more comfortable talking to me. And I love talking to other females. At least, I mean, I get this all the time where ladies or young lady or ladies my age, and they're afraid, and they'll come to me, they'll DM me and say things like, hey, I really don't know anything about wine, and I like just sweet wines, and I'm afraid to ask questions like, can you recommend something that I like? Is it bad that I don't like Cabernet and like all the other cool guys? And I'm like, no, you are perfectly fine the way you are, and let me recommend you some other sweet wine you might love, you know, in addition to just the Moscato, and let's start branching off on there. That I find extremely rewarding, and I find that is a very unique advantage to be able to do that as a female that people find very easy to, I guess, talk to. So yeah, that's me. I think overall it's great.
That's amazing. That is so great, Angie. And again, you know, challenges, roadblocks, you know, didn't stop you, didn't stop any of these fantastic lady somms. So thank you so much, Angie. Let's move to Jienna. Jienna, are you there?
And can you see me, hear me?
Yes, there she is.
Fantastic.
Hi. So did you have any challenges
Yes.
as a woman?
Totally. And Laurie, one thing I wanted to add, I used to work at the Sutter Club in Sacramento. So I used to be a somm at a private.
Okay.
Once all men, I think in the late 90s, like 1996 is when they started to let females even like come into the club. And when they had approached me about being a Somm at the club, I was like, how is this going to go over with your mostly male membership? And, I'm down for it. I'm up for the challenge, but like, have we thought about what this is going to be like? And it was a huge learning experience for me. So I can totally
Absolutely.
that level. For me, I feel like I can embody the challenges and the benefits of being a female sommelier in one word: feels. The feels, because it's so crazy that a chef or a GM, a male in these roles, can have very emotionally driven outbursts and not come off as weak or not capable of doing their job. Whereas I have to, starting out as a sommager, because being in a secondary market, there's not a lot of straight somm jobs, of having that role, and you can't show emotion in both good and bad. You can't show frustration or aggravation or anger or, getting sad or upset. And you also have to be very careful about showing too much emotion in the way of being too happy or too excited, or you have to ride this like perfect line where you're not seen as emotionally driven. But at the same time, I think all of those feels and you're having your receptors so open is what makes you a little bit better than some of your male counterparts, because you understand when a guest might be saying, oh yeah, this wine is fine, but they're not drinking it. Okay. Like I can pick up on that. I see what's happening here. And the few times where I've had to, step in and say to a guest, look, I know you said you approved it and it's fine. I'm not buying it. You guys are not drinking this wine in the way that someone that really likes this wine would. So let's take it off the bill and let's get you something else. And they're like, wow, you're really going to do that? And I'm like, of course I'm going to do that. That's what I'm here for. Going in and reading a table without, it's the nonverbal stuff and picking up on all of those little details. But, it hasn't happened a lot, but the moments where you have to excuse yourself from the floor and go into the bathroom to kind of collect yourself because you can't show that raw emotion the way that a man is so easily allowed to in our industry, I think, and it's like what Jen said, you have to, as a female in our industry, in a leadership role, you have to simultaneously be feared, respected, approachable, and warm, which is a lot of things to be at one time. And to have that balance, I think, learning over the years of how to make that all work and in a way that works for myself, my colleagues, the guests. And yeah, I would say it's like a double-edged sword, but it's when you find that perfect, point, that's when you really soar high above your counterparts.
Nice. Well said, Jienna.
Great.
Well said. Well, this has really been enjoyable for me to listen to all of you, and I really am proud of all of you for everything that you've accomplished thus far in your career. And I don't know, maybe I'll make a TikTok video after this. Thanks again for your time, Jienna, Jen, Angie, and Laurie. I admire all of you. And again, so proud of you and all of your accomplishments for paving the way for the next generation of lady somms. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.